canisters. It's a discussion item. How I expect this to happen is I'm gonna have Mr. Chansky just bring us up to speed as to how we got where we're at now, what the initial complaint was.
I'm here. This is
Engineer-
Jan Lambert. Can anybody hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Jan, thank you. And we've got Jan Lampert with us
Okay,
as
thank
well
you.
as a call-in user. And then Paul's gonna talk a little bit about the impact of of garbage haulers, et cetera, on our streets. And then we'll certainly have lots of time for discussion if we want to. So David Chansky, our Community Development Director, you're up first with how we got where we're at and what the concern is.
Awesome, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this started all the way back in July. Actually, Alderman Dave Pritchett brought it to my attention. He had gotten a number of complaints from residents about garbage canisters that seem to be permanently stationed by the curb, and has asked staff to investigate the issue and bring it before council, and we did that on July 6th. And the question was, is there a way to pretty much enforce removing of the canisters? During that initial discussion with council, we realized this is kind of a bigger issue than just enforcement. And so we brought this discussion back to council on July 17th. At that time, council directed staff to invite local garbage haulers to meet tonight. The first issue we have again is the canisters. The complaint we're getting is that the canisters in a lot of areas kind of sit by the street 24/7 in some circumstances, or they go out for pickup maybe the night before, and then they take 2 or 3 days to get brought back in. Another issue I know, and Mr. Engineer Sandy can speak to this as well, is when they're out on the curb, especially in the winter, they become another obstacle for our snow plows and make it difficult to keep the streets as wide as we can. So again, during this discussion, it kind of came back to it's more than just an enforcement issue. It comes to also discussing wanting to talk with our haulers of where and when do they pick up, how many clients do they have, and kind of figuring out is there a mutual option we can come to an agreement with where we solve these issues with the placement of the canisters while not necessarily negatively affecting the hauler's operations.
Perfect. Okay, so primarily the only reason or the initial reason that organized garbage collection became a part of this discussion is enforcement of the issue that was brought before us as far as those little carts not being policed by homeowners, right? Okay, so it's not really a garbage hauler issue. And then when we talked about could we enforce this, it might be difficult under the current situation. That opened the door to, well, what are some of the other issues with the current situation? And that came up with wear and tear on the streets and all the issues that have come up for the last 3 times that I've been on the council as to should we consider organized hauling. And I don't know, Paul, if you can just mention some of the concerns that the engineering department has.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so David touched on it a little bit. Obviously with larger vehicles, especially in the spring and the fall time when our roads are the most susceptible to damage, having numerous trucks running up and down alleys or streets, and they are exempt from weight restrictions. So obviously those times of years it becomes very important that we try to minimize the amount of heavy vehicles we have on streets, because it is the time when our streets are the most susceptible to damage from heavy vehicles. Our street department foreman, Sean Midda, is here, and my staff continually ask how we can get the canisters off the streets, especially when we're snow plowing. We get hundreds of complaints a year about how narrow the streets get when we have large snow years. A lot of this, of course, is due to parked cars, but there is also a certain portion of that issue that has to deal with the canisters being in the street. And if you're continually plowing around canisters, the streets continue to become narrower and narrower, and it's a perpetuating issue because as soon as the street's narrower, the can comes out a little further, and then the street gets even more narrow, and the can comes out a little further, and by the time we're all said and done, we're at a one-lane road when the street should be wide enough for 2 parked cars and 2 lanes of traffic. So there's multiple issues, obviously. Street sweeping is another one where we have issues with cans being in the street. We can't effectively or properly sweep the streets because a lot of times the cans are out in the curb line and we're not able to maneuver around them and get the debris out of the gutters. So there's obviously, you know, like the chair alluded to, there's numerous issues, and really the main reason we wanted to have this conversation with the haulers tonight is to air these concerns, hear the haulers' perspectives, and try to come to a mutually beneficial solution that we can all live with and deal with, and figure out how we mostly patrol the carts or the canisters that are out in the roadway, because that is by far the biggest issue. You know, we start talking about large vehicles and streets. You know, I think if we solve the canister issue, that actually might solve itself. You know, I mean, it will help towards that solution. So,
Okay.
with that, I guess that's all I have to say right now.
Okay. All right, so that's the problem. That's why it's on the agenda. Jen or Wayne, either of you have any questions as to what the problem is of the engineer or the community development director?
No.
Okay.
No,
Jan?
no.
Okay, so you understand it, just so we know. Now, I got an email late today from Community Development Director Chansky about a possible solution to this. Do you want to share that with everybody now? Because I'm going to share my possible solution, and then we're going to let garbage haulers or anybody else who's here talk about what they think we should do.
Mr. Chair, if you'd like me to, I absolutely can.
Yeah, absolutely, I thought it
So
was.
one of the things that it kind of came up with, possible solution, again, part of the issue we talked about is getting the cans off the street, was if we're going through an administrative enforcement action, like code enforcement, the problem is it's a time period thing of how do I know when that can is supposed to be there. With multiple haulers, we don't necessarily know what each route is for each hauler and when cans are supposed to be out, when they shouldn't be. So the idea, one of the thoughts I came up with was working with our staff, with our GIS staff, maybe creating a map of the city, splitting the city out into essentially 5 somewhat even sections, kind of a Monday through Friday idea, and then saying in these sections, you know, in section 1 you pick up on Monday, in section 2 you pick up on Tuesday, and such. This should still allow for that free market aspect of residents and businesses. They can choose their haulers. Haulers can set their own rates. And we're not necessarily affecting how they operate, just that in these areas, collection occurs on this day. The benefit of that is we would know by a fact that all hauler, like any can, you know, if you're section 1 and you get picked up on Mondays and it's Wednesday, I know your can's not supposed to be there, and we can take administrative action to address that. And it doesn't matter which hauler's can it is, we know this is section 1, your day is Monday, and it's Wednesday.
Perfect. Get that, Jan, Wayne, what he's thinking? Okay.
Yes. Mr. Chair,
Yes, Jan,
may I ask David a question?
you may.
Okay, now, David, on the administrative citation, that would be given to the property owner, the homeowner or landlord, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Wayne?
No.
Paul? So my thought on how to enforce this was not too dissimilar to yours. My thought was, and yours works better because it's easier to tell geographically who's supposed to be there and who's not. So my idea could work with it, with yours. But I wasn't thinking of assessing the homeowner. My idea was picking up the cans. And then if the haulers want them back, they can have them back, otherwise we'll dispose of them. And let them handle their own homeowners. I presume the cans are numbered, you pick them up, this customer has left theirs out for the 3rd time, the hauler would solve that problem. So in essence, making it easier on us administratively. They're in the street on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the pickup is Monday, get them off the street. If I used the example with you earlier, any of my other household products that I put in the street are gonna eventually become a problem and get picked up. So that would be part one of my thought. The other question I have for Mr. Sandy is if having 4 times as many haulers as an organized collection is putting 4 times as much wear and tear on our streets, what would be the cost of that? And are we recouping that, or at least some of it, through our waste hauler fees?
I don't think our waste hauler fees are at a rate, if I may, Mr. Chair, that we would be recouping any of the damage that is occurring to our streets currently. I don't think the license fees, I don't recall what they are, and I think, you know what the license fees.
I'm pulling that up right now.
$25 per vehicle.
Yeah, $25 per vehicle, so, I mean, if they're running 4 trucks in town, you're paying $5.
Yeah, that's no way.
Well, then that should probably be more reflective of the use of the streets. And again, that would solve some of the problem. Now, I don't know if it's possible to even come close to making a estimate as to what that figure would be. But if, and this is not the first time organized collection has come before the council. I personally have always supported the system that we have now, the free market system. However, if it does have a cost to the city, then that has to be recouped to some degree. So my solution would be to combine David's solution with collection of these stray these carts. And I have to be truthful, I've never had that complaint. And I live on the north side by Gregory Park, and I've never had it. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I've just not, you know, to me, my initial reaction is we're fixing a problem that isn't there, but obviously we've had a complaint, or Mr. Pritchett has. So that would be my solution, would be to make the fee more according to the use and to hold necessarily nobody accountable for, but pick them up. Pretty soon, the haulers will start fixing that problem, because I presume those things aren't free. So I have no idea how much they are, but you know, we're gonna hopefully build a nice new impound lot. We could store these little carts, and for $25, the haulers could pick them up. You know, and then of course the issue right away would be the user would say, my cart is gone. Well, I just got an email from the city of Brainerd. It's the 3rd time this month that it's been out in the middle of the street. We have to fix this problem. You've cost me $75, or whatever it is per time. So then it effectively puts the onus on the resident and the hauler and gets us out of it. So, Jan, you have anything else you want to say before I open the mics up?
I think both ideas are very well. I'm concerned about why the hauler should be held responsible, when it's the homeowner's responsibility. I guess that's the only problem I'm trying to get in my head right now is why would we penalize the hauler, when their contract, they're assuming that the resident isn't mature enough to know to bring your can back to the house when it's empty. So
I can answer that, Jan, because it was my idea. Because there's 4 or 5 haulers and thousands of residents. And I'm just trying to make it easier on our staff. I also believe that there is a financial obligation, an agreement, and a bond between the hauler and the residents when they're given one of those carts. That includes some responsibility. I don't believe it's the city of Brainerd that is supposed to enforce that. So, I mean, that's just too much. That's why. So put it on the 5 haulers, say, take care of your own customers.
Okay.
So that's a simple answer, but that's just it. theoretically, if we became in charge of everybody's personal business, then we'd have to have 35 guys a day going out checking everybody's everything. And I just don't think that's the kind of government I want. So that's why, to answer
Okay,
your question.
Thanks for the explanation. Thank you.
Yep. Wayne, anything else?
No,
Then we're gonna open up the microphones. We've got a online caller. And we've got some people here in the audience, so we'll take the people here in the audience first. The only thing is when you come, if you come to speak on what any of us have said or what the initial problem is, or if you've got a different idea, you need to state your name, if you're representing a company, and where that company's located. So, okay? You come up one at a time. This is your, come on up. We're gonna try and keep it to, 5 minutes or so. Can you do it in 5?
It took you 20 to state what you've
Yeah,
been saying
right.
all along, so
Yeah.
no, I can't do it in 5 if we're covering all the topics you just brought up.
I get it. I said we're gonna try.
So, what I'm gonna say, my name is Eric Logie. I'm the owner of Waste Partners out of Pine River, Minnesota. I've been a long-time Brainerd resident as well. Graduated from Brainerd High School, went to college here, finished in St. Cloud. Long story short, what I gave you copies of is the discussion on the actual topic that came up, which was the carts in the alley. I've done some research. I've gone through the city of St. Cloud, city of Wade Park, city of Royalton, city of Little Falls, researched online what they've got going on. But before I can address that, I gotta cover the larger base of some of the other topics that you talked on. I've been a proponent for the last 20 years of getting a solid waste committee. I have letters to the city about it. I have correspondence with the city on limiting licenses as in the past. We had close to 14 haulers in Brainerd when I first got here in 1981. Today there are 4. Only a month ago there were, or 2 months ago there were 3. Tyler Gardner from Pequot has added since. Again, I'm at that time where Double A Disposal and Blue Lakes Disposal sold out. I sent a letter to the city stating that, hey, this is a great time to limit your licenses, and if you don't want to do that, make the license $5,000 a year, so that at least there's a reason that somebody doesn't come in and pick up 50 stops. If they've got a price and service that they believe will sell, they'll pay the $5,000. If not, they won't. They'll wait until they think that they have something. Anyway, that's my history. I've done a lot of this work for many, many years, so it frustrates me when I hear people telling me things that should have been done all along, and now it's my fault. So, weight restrictions, we're not exempt. No way, shape, or form are we exempt from weight restrictions. We get pulled over by DOT in town. We have to follow weight restrictions. Now, there's not a legal truck, or there's not a empty legal garbage truck in the United States on a 5-ton road, empty. So, yes, do they look a little bit and say, hey, are you doing the best you can? Yeah, that's what we get for it. They come to our shop, they measure the distance of the axle spacing. We get tickets straight from the landfill. They go in there, they pull the tickets. If we're not within weight restrictions, they give us a ticket in the mail. So your information is wrong in a lot of places. 5 days for collecting garbage. I don't know of any hauler right now that picks up Brainerd more than 2 days a week. So talk with the haulers about that. We can come to a conclusion and put them on the same days. We can work it out. It doesn't take 2 months. It'll take almost 1.5 years to get everybody to work that together to get all their other routes changed, because you required on Tuesday, that changes everything. Baxter's been Tuesday for 40 years. So that's all I'm saying is that you need to talk to us, and we need more than 5 minutes to get it done. Anyhow, this is just a quick discussion about the clutter. You talk a little bit about, can I leave this down for talking?
I think you can, as long as you're 6 feet
All right.
apart.
First and foremost, our hauler is responsible for the cart disarray. I think Jan mentioned this. Why is it the hauler? We pick up the garbage, right? We put it down. Would General Motors, Ford, Dodge be responsible for cars left in the street? I don't think so. Should people be responsible for their own actions? I believe they should be. The same haulers, equipment, drivers, companies are servicing Baxter, Pequot, Nisswa, East Gull Lake, all these places, they don't have problems with carts. Because of what? Now let's get to the issue. Let's see if we can figure out why that is. Alley versus street collection. Many of the problems you have here with carts, I would say, is primarily alleys. Same thing with other communities, it's alleys. Alleys are the backyard, it's what you don't care so much about. Most people on the street, when they come home, they pull it off the street. Not everybody, but most do. Community pride. Is there an ordinance against it or not? Socioeconomic makes a difference. City design, the width, and I can point out 5 alleys in the city of Brainerd I can't get a garbage truck through. They're built right on the edge. There's no even room for a garbage cart in some cases. The fences are allowed to be put right out to the edge of the alley without any type of setback or requirement. You know, we have to work within the same thing. So there is a reason why there's a mess. There's not room for it. Percentage of rentals versus home ownership. Rentals have a history of not caring as much as the homeowner does about what their place looks like. Organized collection makes no difference. In the topic of cluttered carts would make no difference. Okay, you can have organized collection. You can have one hauler. It's still going to be, they're going to be the same cart color, all flipped over or in the way. It doesn't change anything whether it's organized or not. Whether it's it takes rules, it takes enforcement, it takes things of that nature in order to get people to move. We've got some examples here. This is my example about the cars. You know, if it's parked on the shoulder during the street during the winter, you tow it. Who do you bill? You bill the owner of the car, not the cart. Cart doesn't have a license on it. You have it towed to some location, charge us $25, cost $60. I got to take it. You think I can take a smelly garbage truck or cart and take it back to some other resident that it wasn't their cart to begin with? No, it's got to be drugged, washed somewhere, cleaned up, and brought back to a person. There's so many things involved in the cost of what you're talking about doing. It just seems odd. There are templates out there. Has anyone in the city done any research of these other locations as to what they have come up with? City of St. Cloud, organized collection, or actually it's the city that does it. The city does the collection. There is a rule that's got to be removed by 9 p.m. the night after collection, so they allow the night before. And there's still 40 to 50% of the carts left in the alleys. But 40 to 50% of them are taken up in comparison to our 10, 15, 20%. You mentioned Northside. Northside's pretty doggone clean, but they don't have much for alleys. You go to Northeast, big difference between Northside, Northeast, Southeast, Graydon, there's none, you know, because there's no alleys. Everyone feels prideful about their community, the part that they're in. They bring them at night. Even the associations, well, they have ordinances. They can't leave them even outside their houses there, but they follow them, or at least some do. And so that's part of the question. So we went through some possible root causes. High density of renters, the alley design, mandated recycling has doubled the amount of carts. So now you've got a garbage can, well, it's mandated in any town over the size of 5,000 has to have curbside recycling. So now you've just doubled up your number of containers for everyone's got to have a garbage can and a recycling cart or bin. They're stop and cancel carts. So, for example, many of the rentals, and they're kind of a rotation, right? They've all had every one of us. And by the time they've had every one of us, it's a year and a half or something later, they've moved on and there's a new renter there. So we take on the next renter that does the same thing. We always say we have bad houses, we don't have bad customers. There's the same houses over and over again. And I know you have an ordinance for your renters that they're supposed to provide garbage service. They make the renter pay for it. What difference does it make? I don't get paid. My cart sits there for four weeks until I come to remove it. That's my process, because people will sit with a can that's full for 2 weeks. All of a sudden they'll start thinking, well, maybe I will pay that bill. Otherwise we remove it in 4 weeks. A lot of people can't pay it until that next paycheck. Then they pay, and then all I'd be doing is switching carts in and out. But that's some of the reasons why some of those aren't being picked up. I would say the AA disposal and the Blue Lakes disposal carts, if they get stop service or whatever, they're probably not even removing them because they don't want the carts either. There's just no reason for Waste Management to want those carts. Expectation not communicated. Has the city tried to instigate anything? Has there been any push from the city on the sewer and water bills saying, hey, please remove your carts? I can do the same thing. I can send out on my bills, say the city of Brainerd is asking people to pull their carts back from the city streets, especially in the wintertime. We don't like it either. They sit in a snowbank, and our guys used to have to rustle them out, right? It was really hard to hire that industrial athlete. Now the arm goes out, picks it up, puts it right back in the same place. It may or may not stand up because it's not shoveled out. They're just sitting in a snowbank. They lean over their fence, drop their bag in it, flip it back over, and that's all they care about. I provide that service, right? So anyway, expectation, maybe not communicated. We do have some different ideas. Possible solution, organized collection. Single hauler locations with a set schedule. Reduced alley clutter? Nope. Engineered roadway? Nope, that doesn't change. Decreased street traffic? Maybe, that's street, not, and it's an alley also. I mean, there's less traffic. Improve overall appearance? Nope. Unless just the color of the can makes a difference, that'd be a slight improvement. Case study there, Sauk Rapids and Ironton. It's not Sauk Rapids, sorry, Wade Park. Sauk Rapids might too, but I just thought it was Sauk Rapids, but it was Wade Park. Organized collection, still cluttered. Cans, everyone still had them all out. So organized collection didn't change anything. Next one, street side collection. Street side collection does improve. You've got Baxter, Cross Lake, Nisswa, and Little Falls does only front curb collection. I drove through there I spent all of yesterday driving through all these cities that I mentioned earlier. With street side collection, you don't get that problem. People don't like that being seen there. Plus, they go out to their alley most of the time when they leave. That's when they're taking their garbage out of their house and they're going to where they go. So they'll bring it to the garage from the street, but they won't bring it to the garage from the alley. I don't know. That's what Little Falls decided to do. I didn't talk to anyone at these cities. I think that would be a great opportunity for you to do. Engineered roadway. Okay, now we're going from a alley that's dirt, which I don't know how you damage dirt, but maybe can create dust and things of that nature, to a street that is engineered for the traffic loads that are required. There's 2 huge studies that are part of all the discussions of this organized collection, and they show that 90% of your wear and tear in your city streets comes from environmental factors and not from weight restrictions. So it is common sense says more traffic will wear more. But if they're designed to handle the loads of the equipment that is required to do the required garbage collection, this isn't a necessity. This is a service that has to be provided by somebody, and so it doesn't do anything. Improved overall appearance, maybe. If they bring them in, it's improved, right? But it's also on the front curb instead of in the alley where we don't care where we pick it up. We can do it either way. If they park in front of the can though, that creates a potential issue for us being able to reach it with our equipment. Case study there, Baxter, Cross Lake, Nisswa. All these are doing street side collections. They don't really have the problem that we've been talking about. City ordinance. Carts can be removed X feet from road right of way after collection, an X hour delay. This is the example I used for St. Cloud. Fine to be imposed for violations. Put an intern on, make yourself some money. You can fine the household and have the whether it be the owner of the house or the resident of the house. Pros, cons. Reduced alley clutter. Engineered roadway, no. Decreased street traffic, yep. Improved alley appearance, should be, yes. So that one seems to work pretty good. Possible solution, improved community pride. I think it can actually go along with any of the other ones, where you have a push from the old Nebras, I call it Nobra, Sebra, All these used to have organizations. They do citywide cleanups every year that was organized by those communities. They tried to instill pride in their neighborhoods. They had groups that were together talking about it. These are the things I've been talking about for going on 15 years, having groups of people. If you got all these issues, we know a lot of information. I've been doing this 40 years. This is not something new to us. This is not something new to other communities. There's answers out there that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The organized collection is something that you're allowed to do in the state of Minnesota. I would tell you that it's immoral. I would tell you that it's something that you're taking my business. If this was Facebook, okay, Facebook had a value, right? But they don't charge anything, right? This company sold for billions and billions of dollars. Even though there was no product there, nothing to say, but when you're taking that customer from me, you're taking something. That's a legal taking. And that hasn't been challenged in that particular way as far as organized collection yet. But that you're actually taking, but I've built the business, right? That business started very small. I've invested in property, buildings, computer systems, training programs, safety issues, maintenance shops, all this. And now you go and take 2,500 of my customers away. That can bankrupt me overnight. That's why I'm so passionate about this. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you guys about what it is that are your issues and work through them. We hang this organized collection bombshell over our head, and what are we supposed to do? I sit here, I can't sleep at nights. You know, I literally can't sleep at nights because you bring this issue up about every 3 to 5 years. Since I've been in the business for myself, 5 times the city of Brainerd has brought this up. There's something that you want, and I keep saying, well, let's get together as a group and talk about it. But then as soon as we address the one issue that somebody had, boom, it goes by the wayside. And I'm okay with it by the wayside, but it comes up July 6th, right? Busiest week of the year for a garbage man. I still pick up garbage for a living. I do that personally, every day to some extent. It comes up during these holidays. This is a holiday week, okay? It's the 4th busiest holiday we deal with, but it's still a very busy holiday week. It started at 4 a.m. this morning. I start at 4 a.m. every morning. I just ask that you talk to us as haulers and let's work through the issues you have. We'll make suggestions of what we know that works, what may not work. And if we have to change our day, it's a huge undertaking. That's a huge undertaking because it affects not only the people that you have for customers, that we're servicing here in Brainerd, it affects everybody else. If we pick a day that, give you an example, Mondays, okay? We usually do the lake areas as garbage men. We do the lake areas because they're leaving, right? They don't want to leave their full garbage can at the end of their driveway. Bears, raccoons, other things hitting it, snowplows, right? They want it gone because they're not there to pick it back up and take it back in. So we do a lot of this stuff for a reason, and we'd be telling you those things if we could have that conversation. So thank you, and I'll answer any questions you have.
Thanks, Eric, and thanks for your passion. I think we'll let everybody get a chance to speak, and then I'm sure we've all got a lot of questions. But I don't want this to just be the 3 council members and you, because other people are here. So, okay? I wrote down a half dozen questions, but anybody, well, and maybe all the speaking is done. I don't know. Does anybody else have anything that they can add to what Eric has already, before I ask the online caller? Did Eric cover it all? Okay, he certainly covered a lot. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
this is Jan Lambert. I guess I have a question and.
Okay, I'm gonna have you hang on, Jan, because we have an online caller, and I just said all the public speakers get to speak, and then we'll
Okay.
ask our questions, okay?
No, this is more of a procedural thing, but go ahead. Go
Well,
ahead.
okay, if it's a procedural thing, go ahead.
No, it's just that, my question was, do the haulers have an organization association now themselves? Are they a group that they have an organization?
I don't know, and we're not gonna ask them now, we're gonna continue with public
Sure.
testimony. Okay, so you hold that question, it's a procedural question for the haulers, so hang tight. We'll get there. We got till 7:30, so we got all kinds of time, and even though Eric took more than 5 minutes, he did a good job. All right, and maybe Tyler doesn't have anything to say, but can we ask the online caller, Sean, if he's got anything he wants to add?
I just want to say Eric did an awesome job. Said everything I had planned to say and then some. I can speak a little bit as to Little Falls. I lived there when they switched from their bag system in the alley only to their cart system on the street side. That really helped the mess. First of all, going to a cart from a bag, but like Eric said, people see my cart in front of my house, and I don't like that. So I brought it back as soon as I got home that day, and that was the majority of people. The other thing I wanted to emphasize was the expectation, let it be known to the residents somehow, that there will be consequences if they can't follow this ordinance. Give a, this time today or this time tomorrow, then your cart's gotta be back at the house. Otherwise, yeah, Eric nailed everything.
Okay. Thanks for calling in, Tyler. Okay,
And Mr. Chair, this is Jenny. Where's Tyler from? I'm sorry.
Tyler's from Pequot Lakes. The
Pequot,
name of the
okay.
place is the Pequot Lakes. He
Okay.
said it.
Pequot Lake Sanitation and Gull Lake Sanitation.
Okay, did you get that, Jan?
Yep, I did, thank you.
Okay, so now we have some questions after what you said, Eric, and it seemed like everybody here has agreed that you did a good job representing the haulers. Would you mind coming back up? Because we have some questions. Jan asked the first one, I don't know if you heard it. She asked if the haulers have any kind of group meetings.
Well, not locally, but nationally in Minnesota, yes. National Solid Waste Management Association. We're like any other business. We actually have professional groups and people that are involved in it. There's a Minnesota chapter of the National Solid Waste Association. There's a couple other little groups and parts of it. I'm actually part of another group that is the Haulers for Choice. It's just like any other business. You get 18 trade magazines, all with good information about things that are going on in your world. You're either a student of your business or you're out of business. I mean, it's something that, yeah, there's associations, but us as a group locally, no. There's no discussion. There used to be done, and was actually done by the county, had a monthly haulers meeting. They would come together and talk about discussions, things of that nature. That hasn't happened in 20 years, so.
Okay, do you mind staying?
No.
Okay, Jan, did you hear that?
Yes, I did, thank you. Thanks, Eric.
And since you had your hand, I recognized you first and you've been patient, anything else that you want to ask right now?
No, not at this time.
All right, Wayne?
Go ahead.
Okay. So Eric, I was just wondering, you brought up some great things. Daily organization, which is somewhat what Mr. Chansky was kind of getting at too. I liked that. When you just told me that Baxter did Tuesdays, I presume you mean and Tuesdays only?
No.
Okay, so it's not. This is a little more complicated than that. Okay.
Two haulers are on Tuesdays, one's on Wednesday, and
Okay, so but there's some organization to
for the most part, 80% of the town is picked up on Tuesday.
Okay, and you mentioned the lakes area and why that is. I presume that could be a thing, something that could conceivably start to fix our problem. That's kind of what Mr. Chansky said. Who deems where they put their can?
The customer.
Okay, so we could fix that
Yep.
as a city, right? Because I see what you're saying, there's more pride if you have it out in front.
And I believe your Brainerd has an ordinance that says that the garbage is picked up in the alley and the recycling was to be picked up on the front. That was, I'm going back now 40 years when it first started, but that still, I looked it up actually the last time we went through organized collection and I actually printed it out. But yeah, I do believe you have something on that already.
Okay, all right. The two comments I have, and then I have an idea of where I think this should go, and I think it jives with what you're thinking. One is the difference between the car on the street and the dumpster is the homeowner owns the car. You don't own your dumpster.
I
So
use
there's some responsibility.
Yep.
And you heard what I said to Jan when she asked, why would we pick them up and notify the hauler? But an address on a dumpster would solve that problem. Or at least a number, a bin number, so we could find out.
Two things. One, I used a leased car example. I just didn't say it in
Yeah.
my thing. It was a leased car. It is actually owned by the, anyway.
If you rent a car, the rental car is who's gonna get called, because that's where the license plate
Yeah.
goes, not the guy who rented it. And it's the rental car's responsibility then to handle their contract with their renter. But this is all something that could be discussed, and it sounds like you're at least open to discussing that. The other thing is, when I don't follow the rules of the United States Post Office, I get a little orange letter that says, we're refusing to deliver until you solve this problem. So take some responsibility. There has to be some on your part too. So I didn't want you to think, I kind of heard a little bit about, well, it's not our problem. Well, it kind of is. So, but the fact that you're willing to come and work with us, I think there's a solution, and I think you probably outlined it with Mr. Chansky's idea as to part of how we can do this. Certainly, the best thing,
Can I
or at least the
interject one
initial
comment?
thing I heard was, we can all work better on notification. We do have public utility statements that go out. Now, I don't know how that works in a rental situation. As to the renter, I think a lot of times, it's probably different depending on the circumstances. So some are utilities included where the landlord owns them all, and some takes care of them, and sometimes it's an individual renter that takes it. So, having been in the heating oil business, that was the way they worked sometimes. So, no more questions, Wayne? Jan, no more questions? You'll get a chance. Jan?
Thanks for asking, no.
Okay, thanks, Eric. We got one person who's got something to add, and then we're gonna try and make a decision as to where to go.
Actually,
Please
first,
state your name and your company.
sounds good. Dre Logie, I'm also with Waste Partners. I'm actually
Okay.
Eric Logie's son.
Okay.
I did want to chime in. I heard Tyler on there. Tyler, did you have a comment before I start?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, when you said if you screw up at the post office, you get a little letter saying you gotta fix it or else. We really don't have a way to know unless we're going around, like Eric or myself in our personal vehicle, the day after everybody's garbage is picked up to see if they're following the rules. Cause we're not there again, we do it once a week and we're gone.
Thank you, Tyler. All right.
Okay. I just really had something to add, David. You had said, divide the city up into 5 sections, service the first section on Monday, and we've kind of covered this now that would be pretty difficult to do. Listed in our recommendations, we actually thought of the idea of providing you guys with basically our customer list on that day. So you guys will be able to go around, see a Waste Partners cart sitting out, for example. It's Tuesday. I'd look, Waste Partners is in this area at this address on Thursdays. That's been out for 4 days now. You could address it in that sense. That would provide each hauler to continue to service their routes as they have in the past, but then continue to provide that sort of enforcement opportunity.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The one thing that's a little bit difficult is we don't have the manpower to do all the enforcement. And you have the financial motivation. I heard it in every word your father said. He didn't never use the word financial motivation, but I heard it, so I get it. We're a public entity. We really don't want to be policing your dumpsters. Honest to gosh, and I've been on this council through 3 of these, not all 40 years, but through a number of them. It would be nice if we didn't need a police department, but there are bad people. So, not bad garbage haulers, but anyway, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Jan, anything else you want to say?
No, I'm more for a discussion type thing.
Okay.
When we get to discussion.
So now we have to decide where we want to send this issue when we go to the council. I personally liked Eric's idea of having at least a committee that we can call on to put this together. I also think we should probably put together a notification to all to all our haulers that this is an issue, and they need to notify their customers that there's gonna be, that there are potential consequences, and to please police their dumpsters. At the very least, then we're making the effort to notify people through our sources. I like that idea that Eric came up with. I think it's good, and I think that should go out at least 2 to 4 times a year. We can do it. We can put a little note. We have that Watts News that's in the PUC thing. That's not gonna get everybody, but that combined with the monthly billing statements from the haulers, I think would be just a real step, because I think a lot of people just get forgetful and lazy. That doesn't cover everybody, and I don't think we even need to list what the consequences are, because I don't think we want to threaten people. I think we want to encourage compliance more than anything. Does that seem fair, Jan?
Yes, it does. My question then, what I have is, Kelly, there is other, ways, I mean, we've communicated on other issues where we notify the resident or the landlord that things aren't going well, or isn't going the way that the city wants it to, or our
Right.
ordinance. Why can't we also do that? I know you're talking about staffing, but why can't we have a notice going to the hauler saying, hey, at this address, we're having issues, it's not getting put back when it's supposed to, and then leave that, then they can do that decision of notifying the customer that.
Because we don't know where the dumpster belongs. The dumpster is sitting out there. All we know that it belongs to what waste hauler. They're not tagged. Mine isn't tagged, unless
I
it's.
know, I'm just saying this is just a discussion issue.
Oh.
And this is a discussion on what, I do not think that we should just say, hey, the city is not gonna be having any way of, I think the city's responsible also if things are not going the way they're supposed to be, that we should also be notifying the hauler, just like we do the landlords.
Right.
We should be notifying the haulers that, hey, this address is not doing what it's supposed, or they're not doing what they're supposed to do, so please notify them that there are consequences. Don't
Well,
let it come to our office, let it come to them. That's what I'm saying, that's the
Right.
discussion point.
I get that. Paul, you have something?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a solution that could be a multitude of things. I think Eric brought up the fact that we should be limiting licenses in town. I don't think there's a limit right now on how many haulers can be licensed. What is that number? I don't know. Is it 3? Is it 4? I don't know. But I think that's one thing that we could investigate, because that would at least eliminate the number of different colored cans we have in the streets, right? It would help with, if they're collecting garbage on a Tuesday, you have 2 haulers that are one day, so maybe you have 1 hauler on Tuesday and 1 hauler on Thursday, and you have that many licenses in town, and that's all you're ever gonna have. I mean, I think that's a solution, and like Eric said, increasing the fee. I think that is definitely, if it doesn't make monetary sense for a hauler to come in, he's only got 20 cans to pick up in Brainerd, and he's paying a $5,000 license fee, he's not gonna come here anyway.
That was part of my initial
Yep.
solution.
So, and then another point I'd like to bring up is, I don't know, is putting them in the streets a better solution, or is keeping them in the alleys a better solution? I don't know an answer to that. Most of our issues are in the street, I think, and I think Sean can probably attest to that most of the plowing issues we have are within the street currently. And so I don't know if the alleys are as much of an issue as the street.
Well, okay.
So I don't know if that's necessarily a route we want to go down. I think our ordinance does say pickup is in the alley.
It does actually say, it says street or alley, actually. I thought it was alley, but that's a street.
So maybe if we did do all street, it would, I don't know, I mean, maybe it would help. I'm not exactly confident that that's the solution.
here's what I think. I think we probably have more problems in the alley, but it's less of a problem because it's in the alley,
I lost you.
right? Anyway, I thought there was a lot of good things, and I think the one thing that Eric brought up, and it's going to delay us outside of my suggestion Eric's suggestion for notification, which I think we should act upon this evening, to get our haulers on board, that we need to start encouraging self-compliance. And we can help with that too. I like the idea of having, and I hate committees, but as you all know, but I like the idea of putting a committee together there because we have issues that we can fix. And I'd like to see us stay on it within the next 30 days and then try and get together yearly or bi-yearly to discuss all of the things that came up tonight. So Jan, that's what I want to see, but I can't make a motion. I want to see us work with the haulers on self-compliance through notification and put together a committee with the haulers and at least one person from the council, probably from this committee, within the next 30 days if possible. Does that sound good? Wayne?
30 days is a short time,
I
but
want to get on it. I heard the cries of anguish that we always let this go. And then we terrorize poor Eric Logie into sleepless nights every 3 years. And I get that too. I'm not trying to make this a laughing matter. I'm trying to empathize. So Jan, if you think that's okay, Wayne's gonna make the motion and, okay?
I would just add, Mr. Chair, I would just add on that motion, I understand the meeting once or twice a year, but we should also be able to meet, if there becomes some issue should be coming up, we should be able to call a meeting.
Oh, all the
okay.
time. But having one will create a greater bond of trust. We'll know a little
Right.
bit more about all of the issues, not just the ones that we brought up. And hopefully then we'll have some of a better two-way street as to how we can fix some of these problems. And we, you know, I mean, when I opened the discussion this evening, until Mr. Chansky had sent me the email, I had never thought of what it would take to have to shift 5,000 pickups to a day based on geography. Yet we heard it could be done, but it can't be done in 2 weeks. I get that. It can't be, right? So I asked the people at the dispatch how they're switching from newsprint to twice a day to twice a week to digital. It's not easy. Okay, Jan. Anything else, Wayne?
If Wayne's gonna make the motion, I'll second it.
Wayne?
I'll make that motion.
Jan seconds it. Any further
second it.
discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Engineer, will you call the roll?
Erickson,
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes.
Lambert.
Yes.
All right. Thank you guys for coming. Now, here's the deal. We're gonna adjourn in just a minute, and you're not gonna get to stay we're gonna actually do a live council meeting as well, 7:30. But you're not, there's no public allowed. So.
You can call in.
Oh, you can call in, you can get a WebEx connection from Sean before you go. You can call in if you want to, but at least you know what we're gonna do. Eric, you can speak, we got time.
Okay, yeah, I just.
But you gotta come back to the microphone, because we're,
Recommendation that there's a committee.
yep,
The discussion, and that's
Boom.
really
Yep.
what we were going for. I mean, I wanted to.
I've wanted it for 20 years.
well, you're gonna get it, but now we're gonna get to see what we can do. And the other thing is, we're gonna have some expectations, like when we send you a letter saying, we want you to notify your customers about the importance of pulling the cart back in. We'll expect you to do it.
That's the discussion for the committee, though.
Right.
Yeah, it is, but it'll eventually come back to the council. So,
I'm interested in that.
yep, that must be Tyler.
It is,
Yep.
yes.
Okay, so that being said, you all know what's gonna go before the council. You're welcome to come on in a WebEx, but you can't stay if you're here. and we are adjourned until 7:30. All right, thank you. And thank you guys for coming.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Dan,
Kelly,
you've got something?
I just, the only thing is, the packet that Eric sent out, would we be able to get a copy for that for all the council members?
Yeah. Eric, do you have another one for Jan?
Yeah, I can leave it. Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
Get with either David,
or I'll come to City Hall.
you'll have to come to City Hall.
I'll come to City Hall. Thanks a lot.
See
Thanks,
David
Eric.
Chansky. Thanks, Jan. We'll see you at 7:30. Thank you, Tyler.